Yo, what's up, guys? Finished day 6. So with day 6, we're pretty much in the territory where a lot of people start focusing on hell stages. And that is also the point where a lot of people are saying like, okay, this is where it gets difficult. Why am I not clearing this? How should I be clearing this? I'm failing a whole bunch of stages. What is going wrong? And those kind of things. So first of all, let me tell you, there's multiple ways that lead to Rome. And as you can see, I'm also not doing Health 3s right now, because I actually have a different plan to go to Rome in this case. So sure, you could be looking at like, oh, I'm going in, checking in here, or I check some guides, and one person is using this team, the other person is using that team. What should I be building? Did I build the wrong units? Calm down, it's not that bad. Probably whatever you have, maybe you have to add in something that kind of makes it work for you. In a lot of those cases over here, you see a lot of Dark Senias that kind of work. You do see a lot of the things, which is definitely a good option to work with. But you see a whole bunch of options that you could be like, hey, maybe if I build that one unit, Valerian is definitely one of those key units that could be working towards your goal of clearing this. But in my case, how I'm actually going to get unstuck of doing this, because you have a few options over here to start clearing your Hell 3s. Either you go in Hell 1 and Hell 2 and you get enough modules to maybe get there. That's definitely an option. Definitely would work for a certain way. What you could also do is go back to shells. Try to get more shells in. You probably already have been farming Nico Nana. Maybe you get into Sharon as well. Sharon has a few interesting ones. I would say the Supernova is decent. Black Moon or Dark Moon can be used. Halloween can be used. And this one I wouldn't really recommend. But Supernova can definitely be useful for your healer. But are you really going to be clearing that with that? Well, the big thing is that you can do on the shells is you can also do the passive effect rerolling. And for the people that don't know what kind of stats are in here, for example, here I have 16% attack. But if I would have had a super high roll, I could have had 30% attack. That's a lot of attack right there. Then in this case, I actually do have a super high roll. Don't tell me I was lucky on this. I did like, I don't know how many rolls on this. Like all of my stability that I had over the days, I was doing in shell farming. And for my first day, I couldn't get a freaking speed roll that was higher than 10 for the life of me on neither this one or this one. So don't tell me I was lucky on this one thing that actually rolled good. And then over here, you can also roll in a lot of extra final damage as well. So those things can add in a lot of extra damage. That way, you can simply get a lot better shells in. And the shells, as you can see, if you haven't maxed them yet, they still give a lot of extra main stats as well. And those stats will help you too. If you have good shells and you have bad modules, you can still get decently far. But the main thing that I am personally missing right now is skill ups. Skill ups give you so much value. And I'm not just talking about the skill ups of like, oh, you get extra stats in there for like extra damage. No, I'm talking about the skill ups that are just the random things. Let's look at the one over here. 1000 flat HP. That will definitely help you to survive that final hit that's now killing you in Doki Doki or Darmatan. 15 extra speed on these two. That is definitely going to help you to just get that simple more speed in, outspeed some of those units, and just get your final hits in more often. Or in the case of course, actually turn meter going down more. I definitely want to be using my Mio. I think I will be completely skipping out on using this thing. But if you are using this one, then definitely once again, the extra HP in there, the cooldown or the cooldowns going down, the attack going down. There's so many good things in here, which you definitely want to add into your whole kit, which does make it a lot and a lot better. So it's not just the saying like, oh, I want to go for the cooldown decrease. You get everything, and the everything is really good. So if you do want to focus on getting your team a lot better, something that will help you a lot is GP Outpost. The only reason why I'm not doing this right now and I'm still in shell farming is because of two things. By the logic of the beta, in the beta we had double drop on the investigation on the Thursday, double drop on GP Outpost on the Friday, and double drop on thresholds on the Saturday. If we take that same logic, we will have that the day after tomorrow, the moment that this video is posted tomorrow. However, we were not notified that this was happening until it actually happened on the Thursday itself. So for that reason, I'm still kind of holding out on doing GP Outposts because there will be a doubler. And during the doubler, I will be using a few of those, as someone called it, energy pills. We're gonna use a lot of those energy pills the moment that the GP Outpost is there, because we're going to be focusing a lot on skill ups. I am planning to go for the full skill up on your skill 3. I'm going to be planning for a full skill up on your S2. But also your S3, because I think this thing is absolutely bonkers for PvP as well. So it does work in Doki Doki, and it helps me out in PvP, and it's incredibly good in any sync echo. So Definitely one that I want to go for. But then also Heinrich skill 3, but also the SSRs. I would have to go her skill 3 maxed if I want to use this properly, because without the skill 3 maxed, she doesn't do this skill from the start of the fight. Definitely is a must to have. And I'm planning to battle the thing, which I want to have the skill 2 fully maxed and the skill 3 fully maxed. So definitely a lot of things that I still want to do. Probably I'll also go for Sanya skill 2 max. So a lot of things I do want to max, and then definitely a lot of things that will happen the moment I do get those skill ups in. Does also mean for the double EXP drops, I will be going a lot in the dungeon for just EXP. But I think I'll just use the energy of the stability for the day, rather than just going for refreshes on that one. Also, if you mind asking, it's like, okay, but are you not wasting stability if you could farm health 4s, health 3s, compared to just farming more Nana Nico? Because that's the thing I'm doing right now. I'm farming more Nana Nico or Nico Nana. I'm still saying it both ways wrong, but it doesn't matter. It's a one-way street, whatever way I go. But besides that, this thing actually does give a good amount of Etheria coins as well. And I checked that with my chat early on stream. Sure, you get the training data. You only get the training data over here. But you also get Etheria coins over here. The amount of Etheria coins over here were between like 9.3 and 9.8 per run. People in Hell 3s were actually getting 8.2 to 8.7. So technically, if you want to get more Etheria coins, sure, you get a module over there. You can refund the module. You get 40% of the price of the module or whatever it is. Here you still have that, so technically you net more on that one over there. But if you just look at the drop rate 1-to-1, I am getting more Etheria coin in Nico Nana than you are getting in a Hell 3 on Terra Matan or Doki Doki, which is definitely an interesting finding as well. Plus, might you ask, how much do you actually get from the double drops? Because the double drops will also give you double Etheria coin. But in the case of the investigation, it's also gonna give you double of everything you get. So you're gonna get double of these. You're gonna get double of these, but this also has a very low chance to give a drop of a summon, so a pull. You get those double as well on that day, which is definitely pretty interesting for that fact. But in here you get about around 6 to 6.2 from what I've heard, so that will be a 12.4-ish. So in the end, a double drop on this is worth more than a Nico Nana. Also, of course, if you already have Sharon unlocked, from what I've noticed from going from Fabian to Whitney, so going from the Nightmare over here to the Heart over here, was like a plus 5% in drop. Going from the Heart over here to the Nightmare was another plus 5. And I noticed the same pattern with like going from the Whitney Nightmare to this Nightmare plus 5%. So I do assume that if you want to be keeping farming in this and you don't really need any of the shells, you're just like recycling all of the shells regardless, because you already made all of your shells that you want and you have the kind of correct stats, which I'll also talk about in just a second. You can just simply go into Sharon and farm that on like Hell if you can farm that on Hell. What I said is like, okay, about the right stats. You are looking for something that has the right stats, which like an Onslaught or a Harvest or whatever you're looking for. Same for like the Gigabytes and stuff. But you might be like, okay, I already upped one, but I got one with the better stats later on. Well, in this game, you can do imprint. And imprint is the setting over here. And I will showcase you a clip of what I already made during the stream that explains how this imprint works. For imprinting, for the people that are kind of scared, like, oh, wait, how does imprinting work? You always go from a low level to a high level. So let's say I have a 2 and a 2 right now. Then I'm gonna find a one that is higher that I seem more fit. I still want to go Unbreakable plus Bramble. You could use this filter to just say like Unbreakable Bramble. What do we have? Do we have something that's higher? Okay, none of those are like a 3-3. But Bramble technically is a set that you can get away with a 3-2. Because this will be an 8, and if I add 2 more 3s to it, it's still an 8. So we're gonna go for this. Whereas Unbreakable, I don't want to add more sets, but just for the idea of it, I'm gonna waste this one. So you would replace it one to a level 1. Then you go to the Empower, you go to the Imprint, and then you select the one that you do want to take all of the shells from. So the selected one, all of those stairs will be imprinted on the target. So this is the target, this is the selected one. Level 1 should be here, level 40 should be here. You hit the imprint, and then you have the new one, level 40, with the Unbreakable and the Bramble that you selected, or whatever other stats that you want to go for. But that is how you do the imprint without making a mistake. But at first it always looked a little bit scary. It's like, yo, am I not gonna keep the wrong stats with a level 1 shell at the end? No, you want to have the, exactly as I said, first you equip the one that is level 1, and then you replay, or like you imprint the one that you used before. So with that, you can simply keep your stats over here, while still you can be keeping those stats over here. Highly recommended to do, highly worth it to do. So for me personally, yes, I will be selecting on modules. I will also showcase the modules that I currently have and the shells that I currently have on the units that I currently use. I will be slacking a little bit on modules, but my goal is currently, and that's always really good in those gacha games, have a goal that you're working towards. So my goal is pretty much just use a lot on the shells for probably tomorrow, and then on the investigation double EXP, if it's there. Once again, we're not 100% sure, but I do kind of expect that. I'm going to be doing a lot on the investigation. I am going to be slacking a little bit on this because they're asking me to do certain things which I'm not really expecting to do anytime soon. So therefore I will be slacking on that a little bit, but then I just pick that up at a later pace again. But my goal is to be on the Saturday, the moment that the module drop is there, I want to be farming Hell 4s. So I don't want to be using this in the Hell 3s. I don't want to be using this in the Hell 2s. I want to be using this in the Hell 4s. Why do I want to go for the Hell 4? Well, the upgrade from Hell 2 to Hell 3, probably you already noticed if you tried this, the difficulty gets a lot more. But you can see that you can drop the modules with the effects of 3 in there. That is already a lot better because especially for a 12 set, you can fix that with just 3 pieces plus your shell. You're already done. Then you could be looking at your 8 piece, or you could even go for a double 12. Wouldn't really recommend to go for double 12 because at some point in the Inferno, you're gonna get the special pieces, and then you want to be going for a 12, an 8, and a 6. But with that in mind, a 12 piece, therefore you always want to keep a 3 set on it, because in the end game, you're gonna be needing that. However, for an 8 set, you can actually go for a effect that has a 2 in there. So if you have one really good 2 on the Mythic, you can still use that because a 3 plus 3 plus 2 is still an 8, and you don't have to go all the way to a 9 in that in the first place. So that is something that you can keep in mind, that if you happen to have a very good 2 piece and it's, or like a 2 thing over here on an 8 set, it is still usable. Whereas if you get a really good onslaught, I can give an example on one of those things that I have over here. I think it was one of those, where was it? I don't remember exactly which one it was. I had one of those which I was like, ooh, that's actually a really good mythic. And as you can see, I barely use any mythics on anything. But there was one that I was like, oh, I cannot be using this. I think it was this one in particular. So not the craziest, little bit of all stats rolled in a rainbow, but doesn't really matter that much. But this is one of those, like, okay, it's on onslaught, that's 12 sets, so this one at some point is gonna get recycled the moment that I do get a 12, an 8, and a 6 in there, because then it just simply doesn't fit for the numbers. So just to showcase what I'm currently working with, the shell on this is the only white fang that I currently have. I tried to get a good one in this, finally did work out. This one is a 16 right now, so I probably keep it as is. This one over here, I'll try to get one over here, which is probably like the damage increase that you have over here. Trying to get like a 3%er in there, or maybe just like a damage on the right element. That would also definitely help out, because that's just more than this. Well, a little bit of damage reduction is not the worst. Then we have on the Lily, I put a gigabyte. I did hear some comments on my shell guide videos like gigabyte. That sounds so bad. Why would that be good? Well, it's a turn-based game, and in a lot of matches, especially RTA, if she can cut in just before the enemy was supposed to move, cutting turns is one of the strongest things you can do in a turn-based game, and this thing is cutting turns. So that's 100% one of those things. The moment you get into PvP and someone is using gigabytes against you and they start taking a turn and you're about to kill the whole team, but then a Linglo takes a gigabyte turn and heals up the whole team, you're gonna be like, shit, Seiishizo was right. This thing is fucking good. It has to be at the right time, at the right turn, but you will definitely notice it at some point. Plus in any sync echo or any of those kind of things, which has very long matches, these things are definitely adding up to being really good. Is it the best one out there? Not necessarily, but it's definitely good altogether. So these are the modules that I'm using. Also, for people are always asking about this, I'd go for a double crit rate and an attack, because I have some of the crit damage within the shell, and therefore I like to go for a high crit rate. In most cases, you probably, if you have a crit rate somewhere else, or you put crit rate in there, or you also already have crit rate somewhere else, then you probably go for an attack, a crit damage, and a crit rate, or even double crit damage or something like that. In the case of Messiah, I kind of like to go for his, to have a decent amount of attack, because you also have this part that adds a little bit more of attack scaling in there. So in my opinion, that adds a little bit more value. But in the end, it's kind of like a min-maxing of what you would like to do. In the case of Lily, that's my fastest unit at the moment as well. It's not super fast or anything because some of those slots literally have like 2 speeds in there. And like as I mentioned, did not really focus on this altogether as of yet. Also, these don't really make that much sense, but that is just because this Gigabyte ended up with a Bloodbath. Can maybe change that out later, but I wasn't really 100% sure yet what I want to lock in that, so I will save a bunch of Gigabytes that I can share this to a later thing, because Lily is not gonna keeping the Gigabyte. She will probably end up at a Jackal Guard or something like that, maybe Halloween. I think Jackal Guard will be hers. In the side, on the right side, we have double HP and then accuracy. Some people are asking, is like, why the accuracy? Her skill 3, you definitely do want to land with this. Like cooldown resetters, you do want to land those. It's very important. Mio, currently very slow. Rocking the Star is pretty nice because this thing is a 5-turn cooldown at the moment. And Star always fits super well with 5-turn cooldowns to make it a 4-turn cooldown. Also, once again, we're rocking in double accuracy in this case. These are very low accuracies and they're really bad and definitely have to be replaced at some point. But for now, it's kind of working in the AnySync Echo that I tried to use it in. Heinrich is legitimately leftover build. These are all leftover modules that were on my main damage dealer before. But then you can kind of recycle them to just use them towards your second one. Same with the Twilight Knight. Don't immediately start feeding those away. You can definitely replace those towards your next best unit or next best damage dealer to just add those in. In the case of him, I think it just happened to be triple attack. Oh no, wait, it's double attack and 1 HP. But once again, it's just, I'm not using it too much. It's just using whatever I have. On the case of Marvel, I'm also once again using a tanky one plus a double accuracy. I really recommend to go for a double accuracy because it just matters so much for getting the extra turn meter in to just make that higher rates of landing your skills. It's just super useful, especially on those units that you definitely always want to land your skills. He's also rocking a Star mainly because, once again, 5-turn cooldown, the Star making it a 4-turn cooldown, just incredibly strong. Then we have the Claws, which I actually gave a Gigabyte. It's maybe a little bit odd, but the reason that I gave it a Gigabyte is because I want to have it fast enough, where if my Lily boosts up the Messiah, which unfortunately is boosting or outspeeding the Claws right now, I do want the Claws to move in front of the Messiah still, but I would have to make the Claws even like, I think like 210-ish to make it move in front of the Messiah. Or I would have to speed down to the Messiah, but I don't, as mentioned, I don't really have slower things on this. And this is also one of those, like, okay, it's a good one, but it's an onslaught, so it's not going to be used in the future, even though it rolled pretty decent for the stats itself. So, also for her, once again, same thing. We have a double accuracy and one tanky set in there. As mentioned, decent on the speed. The shell is just a Gigabyte right now, but Black Flag or Jackal Guard or something like that. I'm also tempted to go for a Black Moon, but Black Moon unfortunately does increase her defense and her speed to from a 2-turn to a 3-turn, but it doesn't make her hacking progress to a 3-turn, because that would be really nice, because then you have like the hacking process immediately into a hack in. Jesus. Hacking to a hack-in. Yep, that. Then it would be incredibly good, but the Black Moon only upgrades the duration of this, but not of this, so you don't go from this into this. You still need the second turn to become this. Kind of the thing. So that option is not there, but Black Moon might still be an interesting one over there. The Sanya is currently on a triple HP. This one I actually did max out all because her healing is based on her max HP. I do also like to have her a little bit faster. Definitely will be adding in more of those skill ups later if I want to continuously use her. But I probably think I will. Also the one over here, I definitely will replace this one for a speedy one too. And I will replace this one as well for either healing or just more HP. I think more HP is definitely what I will be looking for in the Alicorn. And Alicorn is just really good on any of your healers, because then your healer would be stunned. Oh no, wait, it's not stunned. She takes a turn and she starts cleansing others. So definitely a strong one. Also, Gigabyte on healers is also one of those strong things where it's like, oh, the enemy thinks he starts killing something. Nope, Gigabyte proc and you get the turn in. Then we have the Row, does have an Artisan. Artisan might actually go to some of the units for Terramatan, as I saw it being used for either Freya or Valeria. But Artisan will definitely at the end come back to Rahu. I only make one of those, and in his case, he's just full on Unbreakable. and then Bramble. I can switch out one of those to get a Bramble set in for 10 defense, which I definitely will do at some point, but I'm not really using him at the moment. Freya is something that I just pulled. I had to go all the way to 80 for the banner, but that's totally fine. Can't be lucky in every part of the game, and I've been lucky in other parts, so you have to be unlucky somewhere. But she will be made 5-star, and she will definitely be used for Terramaton, but also for a bunch of other stages. I think she's really good. I am tempted to give her skill ups at some point as well, because I think she's just really good. I think the Thing is always going to be sharing the set with Messiah. I'm not going to give the Thing a full-on separated set. If I can clear the stages like Terramaton on Hell with a Messiah the moment he's skilled up, I will do that with Messiah. I first try that. If that doesn't work, I'll just put the set to the Thing and I'll give him max skill ups and I'll let him do the job. Because in the end, single target damage is definitely his thing and he would do that a lot better. Also for any Sync Echo and also Amber Track, I would say more on Amber Track. A lot of those stages like the Apte or whatever, where it's like, oh shit, I'm not dealing enough damage, the Thing is probably your guy. Valerian, as mentioned, I will be using for the Terramaton, but I would need her skill 3 to be maxed, because then she starts with the He's Dream right away from the get-go. So that's definitely a must. And then I still have a whole bunch of other units that I'm not going to be focusing on. I will also explain why I'm not going to be focusing on them. Romocha, I could focus on, but I think I kind of want Messiah to do her job. But the main reason that I do want to do that is because I don't really want to put full skill ups in her. Sure, by all means, she's really good. I've seen other people do runs with her. Absolutely great unit. But personally, for me, I don't really want to invest 5 skill ups or 5 levels of skill ups into her, where I don't really think that I will be using her that much outside of Doki Doki. But that is just my personal feeling. Besides that, she's still absolutely a great unit, but I just simply don't think I will be using her that much. Biotin, might you ask, like, okay, you have a Biotin, why do you still go for Freya? Freya has attack bar gain and attack bar decrease plus defense buff. Freya is a lot more early game friendly than Biotin is. Biotin, the moment you have super speed teams, Biotin is your girl, absolutely. But until then, Freya is just simply going to be doing a lot more for your value. Color Rolls is pretty much the same thing as Romocha. Absolutely great unit, absolutely a lot of damage. But I would rather have a few units that clear a lot of content rather than one unit clearing one content specific very good. I have seen some teams where he plus Rosa does an incredible good job on Aurora. But even then, that would mean that I have to build him, I would have to build Rosa, and I would have to build everything else, which definitely will be an issue. Mia, I haven't built yet, but that one is definitely on the list to be built. But that is the moment I go more into PvP. But I do really like her skill set altogether with the cooldown decrease on the skill 3. And then also the dispel and the pushback on the skill 2, which is really good. Hellkit will definitely get into the roster for PvP at a later moment. I absolutely love Hellkit. Really strong on that shield. But it's definitely something more for PvP late game. Some people are asking, can you reset Leon for the Hellkit? No, Hellkit is no damage dealer. He's not gonna deal the damage that the Leon or any other damage dealer would do. He is good for PvP, he's good for the sustain as in the form of a shield, he's good for the attack break, he's good for stuns, but he's definitely not great for damage. Lilith is also one of those units, definitely will be used later on, but it's a damage dealer or not a damage dealer, more of a CC unit for RTA, but that will be an RTA unit later. Talking about Gigabyte actually, which I did mention a few times already, what if she is on Gigabyte and she cuts a turn and therefore she can start stunning the enemy team where you thought you would be taking turns, now you're stunned. That is definitely the value on Gigabyte. And then I have like the Born, but Born, I do already have Heinrich for a strip for, what's it called? Aurora, so I don't really see that being happening anytime soon. So yeah, that is pretty much a review of what I'm at right now. That's also a plan what I'm going to be doing. Main upgrades that I can make right now, I'm pretty sure if I put a lot of effort in the GP Outpost, I skill up a lot of those characters, then I will be able to do the Hell stages in 3 and 4. Mainly, I think at the first I maybe have to do a little bit on 3 and then I can transition into 4. But I think that has more value for me than trying to get a few of mythics in here in the 1 and 2. Waste all of my Etheria coins and then get to the 3 stage and then start farming really good gear, but never can upgrade them. I think that's just personally my opinion of the best way to progress for me. However, as I mentioned at the start, there's multiple ways that lead to Rome. And that's also something you have to keep in mind. If you see a team in here that just like, oh, I am close to having all of those units, then you could maybe start to try to copy it. But if you see a team here and it's completely different than your whole team, like let's say you see a team like this, but you don't have a Mia build yet, you don't have a Hellkit build yet, but you have those units, and you're like, wait, should I maybe then building this? And then you scroll down further and you start building them, and then you see it's like, oh, but wait, I can actually just do that with my Messiah and this team if I actually build this. Yeah, you at some point just try to put a team down the line what you think is like, okay, this is what I'm aiming for, this is what I'm focusing on. And then also thinking of like, okay, what kind of team would fit with that? What kind of scenario would I be building for? And also, do I have overlap in the multiple dungeons? Because in the end, Messiah is one unit that is very good in a little bit of everything, but he's not insanely good in a very specific thing. And this is actually a pretty sound team for, oh, this is Hell 3. I was like, wait, is this clearing Hell 4? No, that's not clearing Hell 4. So you also got to check Hell 4. You're not going to see teams like that much. Then you very much have to go into a specific team. And I did see, for example, a Messiah team in here. Like, this is a Messiah team with a Mio, or a Mia, but that team was not really that sound and solid. But I did see, for example, this team over here. That's a team that I'm thinking like, okay, if I can't do it with the Messiah, if I put in the effort into the thing, I can use the thing over here, but then I can also use the thing in Aurora, and I have a good unit for both. And that is kind of the thing that I'm aiming for at the moment. So people are asking for a recap of my account. If you would like to see more on this, on every day's progression, let me know in the comments. I can definitely do this every day, I don't mind. And then I just put a few snippets in of other parts where I can give a little bit of tips back and forth. If you'd like to see a daily update like that, let me know once again in the comments. And also find me, because I'm streaming every day these days until a decent amount far into the game. I'm not entirely sure when that is, but I definitely do enjoy streaming every day. So find me either here live on the YouTube channel or on Twitch. And see you as always in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.